NFL, where the Cowboys franchise tagged George Pickens earlier this offseason, but there's a lot of rumors still swirling around him. Remember, he's not going to show up for voluntary OTAs. And people are wondering, could the Cowboys trade him? Well, Stephen Jones was asked about it. Here's what he had to say.
Have you guys, I know you said it'll heat up a lot last week. Can you confirm or deny if you guys have gotten any calls for first-round pick offers for George Pickens thus far?
Yeah, you hate to get into things like that, but no, we've had no one call, with interest in George Pickens.
Yeah, well,
you saw what he can do. First half of the season, his numbers were incredible.
and I also saw him disappear.
Yes.
There's just, I'm telling you, the minute Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, the minute A.J. Brown, the minute Stephon Diggs, I get a bad vibe with wide receivers, I'm out.
So let me.
There's too many good college wide receivers. We're going to have 3 or 4. Watch Mekhi Lemon, Ohio State, Carnell Tate, Taylor out of Arizona State, Cooper out of Indiana. You have 4 guys drafted in the first round. They're all going to put up good numbers as rookies.
So let me ask you, okay, so the Chiefs are at 29 in the draft. We know the wide receiver room is weak. Do you consider giving up the 29th pick for Pickens?
I take Omar Cooper of Indiana if he's available.
Okay, let's go to the Patriots at 31.
I would take Cooper. I think Omar Cooper is the most underrated wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah, next 5 years, Cooper. But, those teams are close to a Super Bowl, not the Chiefs.
No.
The Patriots, they lost to the Super Bowl.
No, not doing it.
Let's just try to make a good argument.
I would be a boring GM. I would trade down constantly.
Yeah, I want more picks, more bites at the end.
I think, the reality is it's a numbers game. 30% of the first round ends up underperforming. There's only, if you told me there's 3 players in this draft, 4. Here's the 4 players that I absolutely know are going to be good NFL players. And I'm not talking Fernando Mendoza going to Super Bowl.
So he's eliminated.
Fernando Mendoza is going to be a good player.
Okay.
Caleb Downs is going to be a good player.
Right.
Love's going to be a very good running back. And David Bailey's going to be a very good edge rusher.
So wait, Arvell Reese not in that group?
No, he doesn't have a defined position.
Ooh.
Okay, so Colin just literally said he would not trade for George Pickens, that he would rather draft someone. But then he immediately said the draft is so unpredictable that he can only guarantee 4 players will actually be great. So he basically just made the argument for why you should trade for a guy like Pickens, because you already know what he can do on the field. Alright, I have a completely different take on this than what they're discussing, especially with Stephen Jones saying this. If you ever had any hope that once Jerry Jones steps away, or just moves on to the next stage of life, that the other Jones would be a little bit better in the media and in how things are run, you're wrong. Because saying something like this is absolutely absurd. The fact that he said this publicly, on the radio, we've had no one call about Pickens, don't try to argue with me that this is good business, that it forces Pickens to take a deal or something. This is just bad business. No general manager or owner who legitimately knows how to run a team would ever do this. Can you ever imagine Howie Roseman saying, "We haven't received a single call about A.J. Brown"? He's literally trying to say that nobody is interested in George Pickens. And if that's true, that's fine. You have that conversation privately. You sit down with Pickens, especially if you want him to be your receiver of the future. And you say, "Listen, we're being honest with you right now. No one is reaching out. Tioch. There's not a single team that has called. No one is interested." You have a conversation about it. But to just put this on the radio, to say no one's interested in him, if I'm George Pickens, I'm so irritated by that. Because if it's true, why do you have to tell the world? Why do you have to announce that to everyone? Who are you to do that? It's like telling people you had a bad date. Oh, this girl broke up with me. You don't have to tell everyone that right now. Why do you have to talk about that publicly? That's my business. So it's not a bargaining chip. It's not leverage. It's none of that. It's just bad business, straight up. Any bargaining power you could have, you can exercise behind closed doors. You can do it privately. And if you're trying to get people to start calling, first of all, if you wanted teams interested in trading for George Pickens, you wouldn't say, "Oh, no one's interested. Will somebody make us an offer?" Then literally the Chiefs could say, "We'll trade you a second-round pick for him." Because you just said no one else is interested. So no matter how you want to slice it, whether you want to keep George Pickens or whether you want to move on from him and trade him, it doesn't make sense to say this publicly. Ask yourself, what do the actual great general managers or owners do? Obviously, I know this is a hybrid situation. But what would they do? John Schneider, Brett Veach, Howie Roseman, just go down the list. Do you see them doing things like this? The answer is no. The answer is obviously, absolutely, undeniably no. And I promise you, there are other players on that team who hear that and think, oh, dang. He really said that? I promise you. They're thinking, oh, wow. You don't have to air that. Because that's dirty laundry. Dang, did he say that? He told everyone that no one's calling about him? You're putting a receiver who already naturally can feel like he's on an island, you're literally putting him on an island. And you're also slowly but surely chipping away at his confidence. And again, I don't like George Pickens' antics, or A.J. Brown's, or some of the issues Colin has with them. But I do know one thing, with those types of players, you don't want to poke at their confidence. Because it becomes a house of cards. It becomes a house of cards. These guys are a lot more fragile than anyone ever wants to admit. And once you lose that confidence, it's tricky. It can implode and crumble quickly. That's why some of these guys operate the way they do, some of their beliefs are so strong and so extreme in terms of how they feel about themselves. They have to keep thinking that way, because the moment they don't, it all falls apart. They have to believe, I am the best. I am the one who's winning. I am the chosen one. In a way, they have to be the most self-centered person, because that's how they make sense of the world. Again, I'm not saying that's a great thing long-term. But in the short term, in terms of maximizing production, that's the deal you make. And we've seen that again and again and again and again. And we will continue to see it again and again. Listen, I hope one day culturally we can grow out of that. But also, kind of no. Because Colin just said he would be a very boring general manager. And if all football players were how I wanted them to be mentally, or if I only drafted those types of players, football would be boring. Same thing with fans. I always say this, if everyone thought the way I thought, the stadium would be a lot more chill, a lot more laid back. The conversations on TV would be a lot more boring. So I appreciate it all. But if we're going to have this type of conversation, it's just like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? That's the conversation. I can't believe they didn't bring that up. I'm really surprised that wasn't the angle they were taking. Colin was just kind of like, yeah, I believe it. Why would you want to call for him? And again, if that's true, you don't want to air that out publicly. And I don't know. This is the same version of what Jerry Jones does, right? He'd save a lot more money if he didn't have an agent. It's the same nonsense. It's the same we're going all in this year nonsense. And I thought little Jones was a little bit more with it. A little bit more like, alright, that's just my dad. He obviously has all the power and all the money, and I'm just an extension of that. But I'm biding my time. Eventually it'll be my show, and things will be a little more different. A little more settled. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Maybe the next generation you'll get there. But I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the fact that apparently nobody's calling about George Pickens and his trade potential? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here. I'd absolutely love to see you be part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.